Have you ever walked away from a conversation and suddenly felt like something was wrong? Maybe nobody said anything negative, nobody looked angry, nobody criticized you, and yet hours later, your mind keeps replaying every word you said. You start wondering if you sounded awkward, if you talked too much, if you said something stupid without realizing it. A simple pause in a conversation suddenly feels suspicious. A short text message feels cold. A delayed reply feels personal. And before long, you are convinced that people secretly dislike you, not because they told you, but because your mind filled in the blanks. If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. Millions of people live with the constant feeling that they are somehow disliked by everyone around them. Friends, coworkers, family members, even complete strangers. And the strange part is that most of the time the evidence is not there, yet the feeling remains. Because this is not really about other people, it's about what your brain has learned to expect. And once you understand why this happens, you may finally stop carrying a fear that was never yours to begin with. The human brain is built to look for threats. Thousands of years ago, being rejected by your group could be dangerous. Humans survived through connection. Being excluded could mean losing protection, resources, and support. Because of that, our brains became extremely sensitive to social signals, a facial expression, a tone of voice, a delayed response, a change in behavior. Your brain constantly scans for clues about whether you belong. For most people, this system works in moderation, but for others, it becomes overactive, especially if they experienced criticism, rejection, bullying, emotional neglect, or unpredictable relationships while growing up. Their brain learns a painful lesson. If people can reject me, I need to constantly watch for signs. The problem is that once the brain expects rejection, it starts finding it everywhere, even when it's not actually there. This creates a cycle that becomes harder and harder to escape. One of the biggest signs is that you often jump to negative conclusions. Someone seems quiet. You assume they're upset with you. Someone replies with a short message. You assume they're annoyed. Someone cancels plans. You assume they no longer want to spend time with you. Notice what happens here. Your brain does not search for multiple explanations. It immediately chooses the most painful one. Psychologists call this negative interpretation bias, the tendency to interpret neutral situations as negative. And over time, this habit can become so automatic that you stop questioning it. The story feels true simply because you have repeated it so many times. After most conversations, other people move on, but you do not. You replay everything, every sentence, every joke, every reaction. You search for mistakes that nobody else even noticed. Sometimes you remember a small detail from hours ago, then suddenly your stomach drops. You convince yourself that everyone is thinking about that mistake. But in reality, most people are busy thinking about themselves, not you. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect. The truth is that people are paying far less attention to you than you think, and that's actually good news. People who think everyone hates them often become addicted to reassurance. They ask questions like, "Are you mad at me? Did I do something wrong? Are we okay?" For a moment, reassurance feels comforting. The anxiety disappears, the fear goes away, but only temporarily, because the brain never learns to tolerate uncertainty. Instead, it becomes dependent on external validation. The more reassurance you seek, the more reassurance you need, and eventually, even positive answers stop feeling convincing. The fear always comes back. When you believe people will reject you, you start protecting yourself. You hide opinions, you hide emotions, you hide needs. You become careful about everything you say. You constantly monitor your behavior. You try to become the version of yourself that nobody could possibly dislike. But this creates another problem. People are no longer connecting with the real you. They're connecting with a carefully edited version. And deep down, that feels lonely. Because even when people accept you, a part of you wonders whether they would still accept the real person underneath. This may be the most powerful sign of all. Many people assume that if someone is not actively showing affection, then they must dislike them. But life doesn't work that way. People get tired, people get distracted, people get stressed. People have their own problems. Sometimes a short reply is just a short reply. Sometimes silence means nothing. Sometimes distance has absolutely nothing to do with you. Yet when rejection becomes your default expectation, neutrality starts looking like hostility, and that creates unnecessary suffering. The solution is not convincing yourself that everyone likes you, because that's impossible. Not everyone will like you, and that's okay. The real goal is learning that someone disliking you is not a disaster. You don't need universal approval to deserve value. You don't need constant validation to deserve respect. Start questioning your assumptions. Ask yourself, what evidence do I actually have? Am I observing facts or am I creating stories? Learn to tolerate uncertainty. Not every message needs analysis. Not every facial expression needs interpretation. Not every silence needs an explanation. The more you practice this, the quieter your fear becomes. If you constantly feel like everyone hates you, it doesn't mean you're broken, it doesn't mean you're unlikable, and it doesn't mean people are secretly judging you all the time. More often, it means your brain learned to expect rejection long before it learned to accept acceptance. The good news is that what was learned can also be unlearned, little by conversation, by thought. You can stop treating yourself like a problem that needs fixing and start seeing yourself the way other people often see you, as someone who is far more accepted than they realize. If this video felt personal, take a moment to reflect on which sign described you the most. Share it in the comments below. And if you know someone who constantly worries that people secretly dislike them, send them this video. It might help them see themselves with a little more kindness. And if you enjoy psychology videos that help you understand yourself on a deeper level, subscribe for more. Because sometimes the biggest battles happen inside the mind, and understanding them is the first step towards freedom.